Hi guys, hope you're doing well. Mike here, and today I'm just going to walk you through a soft acoustic guitar demo that's on the Spitfire website. It's an audio demo, it's called Balcony. There's three parts which I thought made this a very good choice to walk through. First is a strum part, where I use the guitar's strum mode, and the second part is an arpeggio type part, and the third part is a lead kind of melody part with slides and vibrato and things like that. So together these three parts really show what the guitar can do. So what I'm going to do is play the whole track from start to finish and just zoom in and talk about a few things on the way, and then afterwards we might go into a bit more detail. We'll just start with looking at the Strum Midi. I'll just bring that up, and here we go. So now you can see these are the changes. These are the strums, down and up. Now it's got this lovely wishy-washy sound because if you look here, we have open strings, two open strings selected, the top E and B. So they're playing, if you look at the guitar neck, you can see they're playing all the time. There's a set strumming pattern with different velocities just to give it a bit of variety. What I have noticed is the strum speed is set very fast. Oh yeah, there you go, it's automated. Sorry, pardon me. So if I go into, it should be here, if I go to modulation, it's CC1. You can see it's just being automated along the bottom there. And just noticing here there's a nice slowdown. Here we have the arpeggio starting. I think it just repeats the whole thing. So what we're doing with this arpeggio part is, I'll bring up the guitar for that. We're using these yellow single note keys here. So what you do is you put down, just like with the strum part, you're putting down the chords, which are these, and we're arpeggiating with the yellow keys. You see there's very little MIDI going on aside from the notes, the keys and the chords. So either strum keys or the yellow arp keys. See what I'm doing here, I'm manually, see that one's not that tidy, but going from bottom to top to get the bring. Some nice other instruments going on here. There's a bass up here. You can hear it in full without me blabbing on over it if you go to the Spitfire website. Let's just have a listen to the ending. So just talking about that strum at the end, I will get onto the lead guitar in a second, but if we look at the MIDI for the strum, we're really talking about the chords here. You can see this is the CC1. So if I just bring up the strum guitar here, you'll see that the strum speed knob will go from the quickest, or nearly the quickest, to the slowest on the right hand side. It's a great way to end a piece. So, right, let's have a quick look at the lead guitar part here. And then we'll go through the parts again maybe and just have a deeper look at the first two. So, what we've got here are some articulations at the bottom. If I bring up the guitar for that. By the way, you see with these guitars I haven't put anything other than a touch of EQ just to balance them out with each other. And on the master bus I have put some compression and further EQ, a little bit of soothe on there, and trying to keep things as close to the actual stock standard sound as possible. Anyway, here we go with the lead guitar. So I've got legato pressed down, and this just smooths out lines a little bit more creates slurs where, you know, if I just show you, I'm just playing random notes up and down scale. You can hear those slurs where if I didn't have that down, you have to kind of work a bit harder to get the slurs. You have to play a note within a certain velocity. So I've got that down, normal articulation. And let's look at the MIDI. So what we're doing is we're using quite a lot of these orange key switches here, which go through a lot of the articulations. So here we go. So I can see here that this should be a bit louder, you know. Yeah, what you'd want to do is put compression on. I tend to sample instruments as raw as possible, just because just leave it to people to treat it like an instrument they've just recorded. Really, I think it makes total sense. Really, there's a few certain times when sample instruments behave differently. I will talk about that near a time. I'll just put a standard Renaissance Waves compressor on it. That'll do. Let's see if that works. Smooths out the volume levels a little bit. So when you hold down this one, you've got a slide 2, which starts just before the note and slides into it. Okay, let's carry on a little bit. BC. Now that was an interesting little bit there. You hear a bend. And this is where the pitch wheel works really nicely, actually. Pitch bend. You can see there's a touch of pitch bend there. Just works great. Totally artificial. You'll probably hear if you do too much of it, but it was a kind of a bonus, really. Again, another slide 2 there. Slide away from, or slide from, if you listen to that. And that, again, that's by holding an orange key switch, slide from, and when you release the note, then it activates the slide down. You can do that in 2 different speeds, depending on how hard you hit the key switch. Softly, you do a slow slide down, and quickly you do a fast one. So let's just try and find a... Oh, there we go. That was a vibrato. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, so just to explain vibrato on this instrument, there's 2 types of vibrato. There's the real kind of vibrato, which is great. You get the string noises if you listen to this again. So you can hear there's two round robins, and they're very different from each other, and they're quite unpredictable. And alternatively, you've got the, for want of a better word, fake vibrato. Maybe I should say synthetic or something. If I play a note and put CC1 mod wheel up, I mean, for me that sounds pretty good. I tend to use that because it's got the added advantage of just being able to fade it in, you know, and then fade it out again. Having said that, there's a really nice scratchy quality to the recorded vibratos, so up to you. So let's just go back to where we started and just see how the strums are working in a little bit more detail. So if we just look at the guitar with the MIDI and then play from the beginning. See, what I did is I set the chord E, and as you can see there's a sus chord going on. So I went from an E and a G sharp, and then I went to an E and an A on the up and back. And you can see just lovely smooth guitar stuff. We didn't look at the arpeggio section too much, but as you can see I've put down an E triad here and it's a higher E. So again, if I go into how this is set up, we'll just have a quick listen to it on its own as well. And the big difference Now what I can do instead of that is use the strum keys. So if I replicate it with a high E chord, slow the strum speed down a bit, that's basically doing what it's doing. You're going across these ARP keys. If I now combine the blue strum keys with the yellow ARP keys, so if I go, and then I'll change the chord, you know, to an F sharp minor, whatever it was. The ARP key's changed because it's spelling out the chord of F sharp minor. And you can see I can pretty much do that in real time. To change chords and get everything perfect, obviously you're going to need to change up the MIDI a little bit afterwards. So yeah, just looking into the MIDI here, if I was going to make some improvements, I'd probably just make these a bit more varied, these strum. I did notice things like this where you can see the MIDI is a bit staggered, you know, I'd smooth things out a bit. Now, did you notice a bit of a gap there? And this is the thing that just creates that little bit of extra realism is just having these gaps. I always go on about this, but it just gives that space for the squeaks. And this is where this comes into play. Chord release on squeaks. You know, if I think I had a B chord down there. If I do the ARP keys on the yellow. Now when I change chord, you can hear that squeak. As soon as I put the chord down, it stops what's going on and initiates a lovely squeak, which gives that feeling of shifting the hand to the next chord. So yes, looking back at all this, I'm actually really happy with the way that the guitars sounds in general, aside from a few tweaks, you know, with velocities and putting compressors on and things like that just to smooth things out a bit. I really like the way this sounds, and I like the way this demo comes together at the end. Actually, it's really nice. I will be talking a little bit more about mixing, you know, acoustic instruments in general, how to get them to sit with each other and things like that. I don't see too much of that on YouTube, so I think that might be quite useful. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little walkthrough, and yes, speak soon. Thanks, bye.